What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to basketball. You know, believe it or not, there's still some recognizable names that are still left in free agency. And so what I wanted to do is kind of take a look and see what free agents are still available that we think can still help some NBA teams out there. We'll also spend some time theorizing where we think they could go, at least like fit-wise. Obviously, these guys can help out probably any team that they're on in some capacity, but I want to try to find out what would be a good fit for them. A quick reminder that this video is pre-recorded as of August 9th, so if something's happened after then, I didn't see it. I'm trying to pre-record a bunch of content before I go away and go get married. I've got a bunch of stuff ready for you guys to see in the coming weeks, so make sure you guys are subscribed and paying attention because I've got some really cool content coming up. But otherwise, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. All right. Let's go talk about free agents. Shout out Bleacher Report, man. They're the best. 10 NBA free agents who can still help every single team. Marquel folz was literally the first guy that I thought of, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Now, I haven't gone and looked beforehand as to what teams even have open roster spots, so you know what? This is going to be an experience for all of us, and we're going to try to figure it out as we go. And you know what? You guys are just going to have to enjoy the process now, weren't you? Or won't you? But anyway, let's see who it is. Kind of figured they would just start off with like who's like headlining the article here, but Isaac Okoro is a good place to start as well. So for those that don't know, Isaac Okoro is kind of in a weird situation. Basically, the Cavaliers gave him his qualifying offer or whatever. So they said like, hey, like we're not really interested in giving you like a long-term contract, but because his rookie contract just ended, they can extend a qualifying offer to him, which I believe is like $11 million or something like that for someone of where he was picked in the draft. And essentially, if no team decides to sign him, the Cavs just get him back for that amount of money, presuming that he just signs his qualifying offer. Obviously, he doesn't have to. He could just leave the NBA or something like that. But he could just sign like a 1-year, $11 million deal. Then he could be unrestricted the season after that. Otherwise, any team in the NBA can offer him something. Let's say somebody comes around, gives him 2 years, $20 million or something like that, right? He's like, ooh, I'd rather do that. The Cavs will get the chance to match that if they want to because they had the qualifying offer out on him. But anyway, Isaac Okoro, 3-and-D guy. The 3 is a little bit iffy at times. I believe this is one of the better seasons he's had from 3, but I wanted to check it out just in case. Oh yeah, no, we're steadily moving up. We got up to nearly 40% on 3 attempts. We take that, and the defense is solid. Like, it's not a high quantity or anything yet, but we take that. 9 points a game, great defense. The rebounding is honestly a little bit low, but he's not that big for a small forward. He's a little undersized at 6'5", but pretty good at perimeter defense and everything. You're getting the shooting, so definitely somebody that Cleveland wants back. Like, that's no question whatsoever. I think that'd probably be the best place for him to end up. But what other teams could try to use him at this point? Like, that's my question. I don't even know what teams have cap space. Let's figure that out. Oh, would you look at that? Look at this little team salary tracker. This is perfect. Oh, this will give us exactly the insight that we need to try to find some spots. And you know what we can also do is we can check like Fanspo or something like that to see if there's any like non-guaranteed contracts or something. So maybe we could say like, hey, boot this guy, go get this guy. But let's use this. As far as cap space goes, the Detroit Pistons are the only team with like legitimate cap space yet. So nobody's gonna get him but Cleveland. Yeah, let's not even pretend they're not going to go and offer him something more, because do we know exactly like what his qualifying offer is? Oh, I was right, 11.8. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So Okoro's probably just going back to Cleveland. That one's not that complicated. Nobody can really offer him anything more than a minimum at this point. So yeah, it just, that's where he's going back to, which I think is a good fit for him. He very well could be the starting 3 again this season. I know they went with Strus at times, so I guess we'll see. But I like Isaac Okoro. He's an interesting young player. I wish he was a little bit bigger, or he was a little bit better with like the ball in his hands, because the size just kind of hurts at times. But he's a good enough defender as is. So shout out Isaac Okoro. I'm almost positive we'll see you back in Cleveland this year. Alrighty, who do we got now? There's Marquel folz. All right, so the former first overall pick. I know there's not a lot of people that watch Magic basketball, right? And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch a ton of it until this last season. I became a little bit more interested as they kind of developed an identity and everything. Marquel folz is good at some things. Some things he's not so good at, like the shooting is just not there, right? He just has not figured out how to be a shooter. Traditionally, he was pretty good at getting to the rim. This year, his numbers fell off a little bit in that department, so that's maybe a little bit concerning. concerning, but what can this guy still do? He can still create, like, with the basketball. He can get to spots on the court. He's really good in transition. He can play some pretty good defense. He can go get rebounds because he's a pretty big point guard at like 6'4"-ish. Stupid good athlete, runs well. He's a good passer. So as a backup point guard, like just kind of a defensive kind of like, what do we want to call him? Just a floor general, if we will, that can also get to spots and create. Like that's still valuable. Like, yeah, the 3-point shooting kind of sucks, but if you surround him with other shooters, it's not a big deal at all. So that's how I would look at it, because there's still a ton of skill going on here. And at this point, he's going to have to sign for the minimum. I can't imagine he's going back to Orlando at anything. So let's figure out where he could go. Lord, please don't let him go to Chicago. We just don't need any more guards. What about the Kings? Who are the Kings rocking now? Like, they've got Carter, but they don't have anybody else like at that spot right now, do they? So can we imagine a Sacramento Kings scenario here? So this is the Kings active roster. What other point guards? Like Davion Mitchell's not on the team anymore. Like Fanspo, can we get on like editing this stuff? Who else am I missing here? So they got DeRozan. Are they going to be able to put enough shooters around is going to be a question. If he comes off the bench with like a Malik Monk or something. Like, because Devin Carter is going to be hurt for a little bit. Maybe he's back by the beginning of the season. Hard to say. I'm just kind of looking through, like, yeah, they're a little bit thin at the position otherwise. So I think the Sacramento Kings are at least a decent option there. Again, it's not the best, like... It's a positional fit. It's not the best team fit, but, you know, maybe you just got to take what you can get at this point. What other teams can we sort by this? Ooh, here we go. So less than 15 active players. OKC, no. The Pelicans? Who are the Pelicans running at there? It's CJ, right? So they're going to have CJ as an option. That's not really necessary. The Timberwolves? That's interesting. I'd prefer not to have any other, like a point guard that's not a shooter on that team. No, I don't really like it. Cleveland? Interesting, because they have technically three small guards on that team already. I can support a Cleveland move just because it's a different type of point guard on the team. So give me Cleveland. I don't think Utah is really necessary. So give me Sacramento and Cleveland. I think those could be interesting. Let's move on to number 3. Who do we got here? Ooh, Cheddy Osman. Yeah, I would agree with this one. So Cheddy Osman, what is he going to get you at this point? Well, at one point in his career, he was a starter half the time, and he could get you 13, 14 points a game on some pretty good shooting, and I believe he still shot really well for San Antonio last year. What did we get last year, Cheddy Bang Bang? We got 39%, 3 threes a game, 7 points a game. We take that. And like, how good is the defense really at this point? Like, that's up for question. He's getting a little bit older now, slowing down to an extent. I've still seen him put the ball on the floor a decent amount last season, so I don't feel so scared about the offensive side. I actually think he'll age pretty gracefully that way, because it's not like he was ever relying on crazy athleticism to start. It's just at a certain point, you can't keep people in front of you. So who needs like a lengthier, like 6'6" or whatever, but still good size, a good 3-point shooting, spacing guy, just a good vet to have on the team? Let's go figure that out. What about a team like the Memphis Grizzlies or something like that? I know they got 15 players on there right now, but they're also just missing like any sort of size on the wing. So is there any way that we could get Cheddy Osman on this team? Is there anybody with like a non-guaranteed contract? Ooh, Diakite. Right? So yeah, non-guaranteed. Yeah, I'd scrap Diakite right now. Yeah, you've got enough other types of bigs on the team between like Brandon Clark and stuff, so I'm not worried about that. Can we get Cheddy Osman on the Grizzlies? I'm in full support of that. Then you got him and Luke Kennard. You got a couple shooters on the team, and at least he's got like a little bit of height to him, because otherwise, what are your wings kind of looking at? Zaire's not on the team anymore. LaRavia, like, he's not really a wing per se. Vince is undersized, right? Maybe Gigi Jackson eventually becomes one. Luke Kennard, it's not great size. Konchar's a little undersized. Bane is undersized. Wells of hopefully eventually, but he's a rookie. So give me Cheddy Osman on the Grizzlies, man. We'll cut Diakite. Sorry, Diakite. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right too. Forgive me if I'm not, but I like that one. Who do we have next? Lonnie Walker. Yeah, this is one I've been preaching. Like, Lonnie Walker's a good basketball player, man. It's so weird that, like, he had that really quality season with the Lakers, and it just went nowhere. Like, all he was able to get was a minimum contract with Brooklyn, and he had another solid season this year, Nothing. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't heard any reason why he shouldn't be on a roster either. Like, I'm decently connected throughout like players and coaches and stuff, and I've never heard a bad thing about him. Maybe I'm wrong, but dude seems like just a quality basketball player. The defense is pretty damn awesome, and he's quietly hitting like 38% of his threes. I saw a statistic that he's hitting like 45% from corners. So my instant thought is like, put him on the Dallas Mavericks. Like, let's go. Let's find a way to get him on there. But like, somebody's got to want this guy, right, in some capacity. So, I mean, what teams can we look at here? And I'm trying to look at like 15 and below, because I just have to imagine a lot of these are just going to be hard to figure out how to get them on there. Like Memphis, well, I'm not going to say Memphis because he is only like 6'4". So Memphis, we got to prioritize getting someone with a little more length out there. Like the Knicks, he's not going to get PT. Milwaukee, it could be a cheap option to kind of bring somebody else in. They got Gary Trent. Am I missing somebody else from the Bucks that kind of fills that role for them? I'm trying to think. So go over to payroll here. So obviously they got Middleton, Pat Connaughton. Yeah, they got like AJ Green and stuff too. So okay, that one's probably not the best one. So we'll forget about that for now. Like, could you send him back to the Lakers? Who are the Lakers cooking with at like their backup two for the time being? Like, obviously Connect is on the team, but I presume he's going to be more of a wing. So who are we working with? So we got Reeves, right? And then who do we got? Like Maxwell Lewis, I presume, is more of a wing. Interesting. Okay, but who can we remove from this team is the question. I don't exactly know who that would be. Maybe you'd have to make a trade or something like that. So there's a player option on Christian Wood, Maxwell Lewis. Obviously, it's gonna be, yeah, he's not. We can't really cut him until the next season. Hopefully he works out, obviously. But yeah, I'm just kind of looking. Bronny obviously got a full contract. So did Max Christie. Yeah, you'd have to trade someone, but I think that would be a good fit nonetheless. Just looking through the rest of these teams, like who could really use him, I feel like OKC would love a guy like that. Just more undersized, dynamic guys. That always seems like a decent fit. But I mean, hell, just go Minnesota, right? It's just another option, like outside of Nickeil Alexander-Walker if he goes cold again, like in the playoffs. So I could see that one working too, where they just go and pick him up and he's already playing good defense and everything. Could be a good playoff of Terrence Shannon. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Number 5, who do we got? Robert Covington. Okay, yeah, starting to dig a little bit deeper now. I would say that, yeah, we're a long way from Robert Covington's heyday now. Yeah, it's been a couple seasons of not very productive at this point. Like, yeah, Robert Covington at one point was crazy. Like, crazy wingspan, great defense, knockdown shooter. Originally part of that, like, Philly process and everything. He was one of the guys that was kind of dug out of the ground and became a decent NBA player. Covington hit 40% of his trays over a much larger 48-game sample there. Yeah, he didn't play as much this season. Continues to disrupt on defense, 33. He's only 33. He feels a lot older than that. Will improve somebody's rotation as long as he's healthy. Yeah, that's my thing. Despite the past age, he averaged 6.5 deflections. That's actually a pretty crazy stat. The highest rate of anyone. Yeah, okay, yeah, thank you for validating me on that. Yeah, combo forward. Oh, man, I'm not sure I see Rocco, like, getting a deal. In all honesty, like, yes, people need the wings and everything, but the health and maybe the lack of consistency a little bit lately scares me a little bit. I mean, what's one of these teams like? I mean, you could throw them on like the Jazz just as like a veteran presence or something like that. I know today, as of today, they signed Svi Mykhailiuk to a deal, but they could use more wings on this team without a doubt. So I could see Utah being a good fit for him. Like Philly, yeah, they have the 2 open roster spots. I feel like they could go other directions, but he is a lengthier wing, and Philly could also use a lengthy wing because as of right now, it's like just Paul George out there as far as somebody with a little bit more height. So I guess those are probably my 2 ideas at the very least. But again, he'd kind of be more of a vet role. Next up, Landry Shamet. Yeah, no, this one's pretty simple. Undersized 2 guard, I'll say, that shoots the shit out of the basketball. That's what you get with Landry Shamet. You're not going to see him put the ball on the floor. He's not going to be a great defender or anything like that, but just getting a 3-point shooting option, and that's not a bad thing to have as like a reserve guard on the team, just someone that you know, like if someone else goes down, like this guy has a role, right? It's run around screens, be a gravity guy, hit 3-pointers. Like, cool. At least we know what we're getting out of him in some capacity. So Where do we send him? I think Minnesota again would make a ton of sense for this one. I'll say the New Orleans Pelicans, kinda. They have a bunch of people at those spots, and yeah, and actually no, they need another big man. Let's let them fill it in with another big man. OKC to kind of fill in for is it Lindy Waters that left? I believe so. Am I remembering that name correctly? I don't know why I can't remember. The guy that went to Golden State. So I could kind of see him falling into that role as well. Golden State certainly doesn't need him. They have enough people at that position. Otherwise, like, I don't really see another, like, fit for him. Because Cleveland, they don't need any more guys like that. Too many undersized guards on Philly for the time being. Maybe you just say as a shooting option in Charlotte or something like that. Like, they already kind of have Seth Curry in that role. So, yeah, those are kind of the teams I'm thinking. Who do we got at number 7? Dennis Smith Jr. Interesting. So, man, what's so interesting is, like, I just keep waiting for Dennis Smith Jr. to figure out the shooting thing, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. He's crazy explosive, and, like, do y'all remember, like, the first year of Dennis Smith Jr.? Like, was that the best shooting season that he had, in all honesty? Where has it gone since they traded him to the Knicks, and that old Knicks regime just kind of ruined him, right? Like, man, I loved rookie Dennis Smith Jr. Where were we at three-point percentage-wise? Oh, okay, no, we were... Did we ever get better? Slightly, but not much. But yeah, no, he was taking about 5 a game, though, and like I was feeling pretty good about that overall. 15 points a game as a rookie. Then it fell to 13 because they went and got Luka. Then obviously he was moved and went to New York, and New York ruined him. All of his confidence gone. Never been able to really pick it up since. He's had some good moments here and there, but it's like, I don't know. So what are we saying that Dennis Smith is really giving people at this point besides like the athleticism and like some strength? Like he's a little bit undersized too. 3-point shot didn't come around. Nope, really hasn't. Shot a career high 74%. Jesus. Like, well, yeah, we even got to get that up. Maybe there's something to read, or there's nothing to read into with all these small sample stats, but what if they indicate a passable 3-point shooting is on the horizon? Why? Why would we think that? Like, we have this much data to suggest that he's not a good shooter right now. Like, he could always become it, but there's nothing suggesting that he will. He ranked in the 99th percentile, okay, in DPEM with Charlotte, and then fell to 98th. Jesus. Okay. Any team of need of a smothering on-ball pest should be looking closely. Okay, I guess that's not really a great sales pitch, is it? It's a name. It's certainly a name, but who needs that? Exactly. Okay, I'm gonna say this one, Dennis Smith Jr. I think it's time to head overseas. Probably would absolutely dominate over there. I don't know where to put you. Otherwise, I'd rather go find somebody else. Let him go over there. Maybe we have a Dante Exum type thing. But man, Dennis Smith Jr. just really looked like he was going to be something early on, man. And I'm not saying the Mavericks shouldn't have picked Luka and done the trade to try to get Porzingis and everything. It's just, man, what a bummer. It was fun for a while. Next up, we have Horton Tucker. Interesting. So, Horton Tucker's played a lot of different positions. He hasn't necessarily been good enough as a point guard to want to stay there, but he hasn't been like a good enough shooter, defender to really play the wing. So what do we want to do with Horton Tucker at this point? So here's the thing, right? Like, he's what, like 23 at this point? Dude's still young, and he's got a great frame to him and a great size and an interesting skill set. Like, he can kind of like create for himself and get to the rim. I know his passing was in the upper like percentiles or whatever for like assists, like assist percentage or something like that. So there's something interesting there, but these tweener guys, like, the tweener I feel like used to be like a kind of a good thing to say about people, but it's not. Like, when we don't know what to do with someone positionally, it is a problem. And so I don't know exactly what to put with him, but he does fall into a Marquel Fultz-like situation to where I think he can still provide value. I feel like I'm going to be making kind of the same recommendation that we did for Fultz. Like, I'm just kind of looking through these teams, and like his best chance is playing point guard, right? Like, that has to be his best chance because of the ball, some of the ball handling skills and his ability to maybe guard guards and be stronger than them, right? Like, that has to kind of be the best case scenario. What about Golden State? What if, because here's the thing, right? We could use a guy that could have the ball in his hands a little bit more in Golden State. Because if you look at their roster, and we'll go over it while we're talking about it, they really only have like one point guard on the roster right now, and his name is Stephen Curry. So they're in need of another point guard, right? Like, I'm not missing anybody. No, 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 no. Like, Pods, like, kind of. Like Gary Payton once upon a time before they turned him into like a 3. So they need another guard on this team. You can cut Guy Santos. I don't think you really need Guy Santos. You bring in Horton Tucker as a backup point guard. You can play him with Curry at times too, because Curry likes to play off the basketball for the most part. That's where he's going to be most effective. Horton Tucker can be a facilitator then. The problem is you can't play him with either Draymond Green or Kyle Anderson. So while it's nice that you always have one of those guys to kind of play your system in, now you don't have all this elite shooting around it to make it better. So that could lead to some spacing problems, but I think that's my best bet for the time being. Number 9, who do we got? Marcus Morris. Okay. Interesting enough. What? Just kind of be Udonis Haslem? I take it that's kind of the idea here. I know we had like that one playoff game where he like low-key went off from 3 or whatever, and I'm not really expecting that at this point. But if you just want like a gritty vet on the team, like, I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, maybe we've entered the maybe one more year in him. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Yeah, injuries and stuff like that. Dude's been around for a minute. He's had a great career. Like, let's probably let Marcus Morris chill a little bit. But I mean, what team can use a savvy vet at the wing, right? A guy that's going to basically be the James Johnson of like Indiana or whatever. I don't know. Minnesota, just have another gritty dude on the wing. I wouldn't hate it because like, have him and Mike Conley on the team. Yep, don't necessarily hate it. OKC, they could use some vets on the team. I think that'd be a really good fit for them. Just kind of fill that Chris Paul role that they had a couple years ago. I think that could be kind of good. Orlando, no. Brooklyn. Like, honestly, if Brooklyn were to cut somebody, well, here's the thing. Brooklyn, who are they even developing right now? Like, they're still kind of in the teardown process. Like, I know some people are going to say Cam Thomas. I can't imagine Cam Thomas is like a big focal point for their future. I just can't. Cam Thompson's a really fun player, or Cam Thomas is a very fun player, but I don't know. I don't necessarily see it. So I think it's got to be one of those teams like an OKC or like a Minnesota or something like that, one that's a little more established. I mean, like, hell, he can go back to Cleveland, I guess. Like, they've got the roster space for it, and they obviously know him already. Hopefully he's good for the locker room. So that's probably the best that we can do with that one. But who do we have in this last spot? Ooh, Justin Holiday. That's an interesting one. Justin Holiday just kind of keeps popping up out of nowhere, doesn't he? Where he kind of just comes in and we're like, okay, like, we got this skinny dude or whatever. He's been 3-and-D his whole life. When's he going to slow down? The Holidays don't ever like quit. Like, Aaron's still around, still being productive. Drew's obviously Drew. Justin Holiday just like signs with the team in the middle of every season, and he low-key plays good defense still and can shoot the shit out of the basketball. Like, well, shoot the shit out of it. What were we talking about last season for Justin Holiday? Obviously with Denver for this one. Justin Holiday. I can't spell. It is Friday, so just give me a second. All right, what did we get? We got 40%. How many were we taking last season? Okay, 2.3, but that's not much playing time or anything. 14 minutes a game. Yeah. Let me buy some stock in Justin Holiday. Put him on the Timberwolves, please. Just a guy like that, good vet, still can play some defense, always going to be a good shooter. Let's take a look at some of these other three-point shooting moments. Okay, that wasn't good. 36, 38, 40, 34, 35, 35, 34, 32. He's been around for a little bit, right? And like, he's always going to be a decent 3-and-D guy. So if we give him enough space to operate, I think we could have something here. So if you need a guy to come off the bench or something like that, I think that works. Does like Denver need him at this point? Denver's going to get a disabled player exception, right? So how many people does Denver have? Well, they got 18. Goddamn. Okay, we're not going to try to make that one work. Does Orlando need him? Maybe you could, like, if there's a guy to cut or something like that from that team, I could maybe see it happening. Otherwise, no, like Detroit doesn't need it or anything. I really like the Minnesota one for this one. I hope Minnesota finds a good player to kind of use that last roster spot on. And I think just a solid 3-and-D guy like that's a vet, I couldn't necessarily argue with it. But hey, that's all we got for this one, y'all. Just a fun little exercise to think about where some of these guys could go, how teams can fill out the rest of their roster. Because look, every guy on this roster is impactful in some capacity. Like the 15th man, you might as well use it for someone that you think could be on the court at some point, right? That's the whole point. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Are there any free agents out there that could be interesting? I'm thinking about doing a video as well of like deep diving in on the Olympics at some point, some guys that could come over, but I'm not sure I'm going to have time to do that before I go and get super busy. But just an idea that I've got in my back pocket. But hey, appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you guys later.